Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to GVU Weekly Tech Talk session. Today, I'm going to talk about performance testing with Blazemeter. It seems there's some issue in my presentation. Can you guys wait for a few seconds? Have you guys ever encountered such issue like this? Keep loading and loading? Or maybe not with the presentation, maybe the application or something? Well, I'm sure that you might have heard this from maybe client, or you might have experienced this on your own, or maybe you have heard it from a QA that it takes long time to load an application. Well, do you guys know that there's like 47% of consumers expect a web page to load in 2 seconds or less than that. And it says 40% of people abandon a website that takes more than 3 seconds to load. So I don't think I should take more time than this to start my presentation. So let's talk about what is performance testing. So with the stats I talk about, I think you understood the importance of the performance testing, rather application performance. So why do we need to do a performance test? In order to have that expected performance in application, as people in the software industry, we need to make sure that the application we build will have the adequate performance. So what is performance testing? It's a non-functional test which checks the speed, response time, reliability, resource usage, scalability of a software program under their expected workload. So if this is performance testing, why do we always say we need to do a load test? So well, let me explain that as well. There are a few types in the performance testing. One is load testing. So what is load testing? The objective of load testing is to identify the performance bottlenecks before the software application goes live. It will check the application's ability to perform under anticipated user loads. For example, if you want to verify the response time is not more than 3 seconds when there are 1,000 users simultaneously using the system, then you need to perform a load test in order to check the performance of the application. Now, I hope you got the idea about the load testing and the performance testing. Okay, and the next type is endurance test. Endurance testing is will be done to make sure the software can handle the expected load over a long period of time. So in an endurance test, you will be running like 1,000 concurrent users. You will be let 1,000 concurrent users to use the system for a long period of time, like 1 hour time or such. So with that, you can measure how the performance of the application within that period of time. That's what called endurance test. Stress testing means, as word says, we are going to stress the system. The objective is to identify the breaking point of an application. We give a stress to a system and see whether the system can handle that. So we will be giving an extreme workload and see whether that high traffic can be handled and how the data processing is being done under that stress. So that's stress testing. And then we have spike testing. What spike testing means is it will see how the software react when there's a sudden large spike. So let's say application runs smoothly and you generate thousands of transactions at once and see how the system will handle that large number of users or transactions by the system. And then we have volume testing. Volume testing means it will test the volume of, like, how when there's a large volume of data in the database, how the system will handle the performance. How the system will handle that and how the application performance is. So when we are doing a volume testing, we will enter a large number of data into the database and see how the page load times are and how the throughputs are, and the CPU memory, those things we will be monitoring. So that's how we do a volume testing. And lastly, the scalability testing. I think Hiran has done that. I don't know whether he knew exactly what he's doing, like, I mean, the name. In the scalability testing is to, the objective is to find the scalability of determine the scalability of the system. So let's say if client comes and say, we need to see, I just wanted to know what is the exact system configuration that I have to do, like what is the exact server plan that I need to go. Then we need to see, do a scalability testing and determine what is the proper solution for that. In order to do that, we need to perform scalability testing. So from all these testing types, we'll be doing a performance test. We'll be checking the performance of the application. So I hope now you can have a clear understanding about these performance testing types and when should you need to do what sort of performance testing you need to perform. It is very important to understand the testing types, otherwise you will not be able to understand the clear requirement and do a proper performance test. That's why I wanted to highlight on here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Okay, moving on. What are the common performance problems? These are few of common performance problems we have heard from the industry. One is long load time. So if we need like most of the applications takes a long time to start. The initial time it takes an application to start is one common problem. And the second one is poor response time. It's like once you input the data, how long will it take to give the response? That's the response time. If it takes long, most of the application takes long time for that. So that's one common problem. And the third one is poor scalability. Poor scalability means a software product suffers from poor scalability when it cannot handle the expected number of users. It's like when there's like, let's say there's a e-commerce site and there's a sale and thousands of users logging into the system. And if that system cannot handle that, then there's a scalability issue. So in order to understand that the scalability, we can perform a load test and verify that. And there are some bottlenecking issues. Bottlenecking issues mostly comes with coding errors or hardware issues. We can identify that with CPU utilization, how the CPU utilization, memory utilization, network utilization, and disk usage. If those are unusual, then we can identify that as a bottleneck, and that comes with a coding error or hardware. Those are the common problems in the performance testing, application performance problems. Okay, now I think you are clear on that as well. So let's see how we can perform a performance test properly. There are a few steps that we need to follow in order to do a performance test. Very first one is like in software life cycle. Here also same. The first one is requirement. In the requirement phase, you need to get the requirement clearly. That's very important. If you do not get the requirement clearly and properly, you will not be doing the correct performance test. So for that, you might need to have several conversations with clients and get the details you require, such as first you need to grab the idea what sort of performance is required. Your client might not be able to tell you that you need to do an endurance test or load test, but with the requirement, you should identify that. So for that, you need to get the requirement clearly, and you need to get the testing scenarios that you need to follow. You can ask the question from client saying like, what are the most used, what can be the most used pages by the users? What is the maximum number of users using the system at a time? So with these data, you can picture the requirement and clear the requirement and picture what sort of performance test that you need to conduct. So once you're clear with the requirement phase, then we'll be moving into test planning and design. In the test planning and designing phase, now you have the idea of the requirement. No? Let's say you got the requirement saying our system will be using 100 of customers at once, and I want to have every page load within 5 seconds or 3 seconds. 3 seconds time. So now you have the requirement. So in the test planning and design, the next step, you need to identify the test objective. So here, with the example I have taken, the test objective will be page load time should be 3 seconds. And then you need to identify the scenarios. What is the test flow that you should follow? Then user loads. If you are going to perform load testing, the requirement I got is 100 users will be using the system at once. So we will not be doing the 100 users straight away. We'll need to plan stepwise, like how will be the response time with 1 user, then how will be the response time with 10 users, then 25 users, 50 users, 75 users, then 100 users. So we can see how the pattern is going, and we can identify how the application behaves when these user counts. So in the test planning phase, we identify the user loads. Then we need to identify the test environment and tools that which we are going to use, and the team and the time we are going to take into performance test. So once you're clear with that, preferably it will be preferred to create a test plan, and everyone should agree on that, especially software developers, QA engineers, and the client. Everyone should be in the same page when you are conducting performance tests. Then here, in this phase, everyone should have understanding about what sort of performance testing that you are going to conduct, what sort of measures we are going to take, and what are the tools, and who are the team, and the objective scenarios and everything. So once everyone is in the same page, we can configure the test environment. When configuring the test environment, it is a known fact that the test environment should at least it should be similar to live environment. Maybe you can take UAT environment, or maybe you can take dev environment and upgrade it up to at least similar to UAT environment. You have those options, and then you can configure it to run the performance test. And now the environment is, environment is there, so you can run it there. And then the next phase is the implement the test design. In implement test design, I said in the test planning, you should select the correct tools. So here, mainly you will be doing scripting of the test scenarios. There are a few tools available in the market. Most common one is Jmeter, and there's Blazemeter, HP Load Runner, Neo Load Runner. And there are so many. I showed here only few. Jmeter is very common one and free version. For scripting, we can use it like very usefully, like it's very easy to use, and there are so many configurations that we can do and get things done very nicely. And also we can use Blazemeter as well. Here for scripting, I'll show how to use Blazemeter. So there's a Blazemeter plugin available for Chrome. So you just need to add it here, the plugin. Once you add that, and you need to have a Blazemeter account. You can easily create an account in Blazemeter and it will be free. There are some constraints in the free version, which is like you can only use 50, go up to 50 concurrent users, and you will be able to run only 10 tests per month. So I'm going to do a small demo using Blazemeter. So free version is more than enough for me. So I'll show you how to do the record the scripts using Blazemeter plugin. So here we can use the project name. I'm going to use PEMS system, and can just click on record and start recording. So I can say the first step as login here, add step, and I'm going to I need to initially load this page, and we'll rename these things later. Then login and dashboard. So I'm going to log in here. So my test scenario here I took is go to the website, log in, and then go to the rate set page. So we'll wait until page is loaded. Then okay, the next step is rate set. Get the step. Go to manage. So it will load the rate set. So this is the test scenario I got. So once I go through all the steps, just stop the recording. And here you can see it's saved. You can go to the edit and see all the recorded steps. When you're recording, make sure that all the API calls and everything is recorded here. How you can verify is in here you can see the network tab. Whatever the details appearing in the network tab should be recorded in the here. So once you record everything, you can download this as any format. Since I'm going to edit, do more editing with Jmeter, I'm going to download it as JMX, and it will automatically detect the domains. I select those things and just submitting it. You can export in that to a JMX file. So once you got this, you can open this from Jmeter. I have pre-recorded one. So once you got it, you need to do some editing in the script. This is very important when you are doing it, when you're scripting. Make sure variables are taken out and defined separately. Like here, like base URL, username, password, everything is separated. And let's say if you are using a number of users, if you need to have a if you want to have a CSV file, that you can attach as well. Do those configuration and go to each and every API call and verify whether it's properly edited. Let's say once you log in, you might get a token. In order to go to another pages, you might assert and pass that token to tokens. So those things you need to edit. And once it's edited, you can just run it and see whether this is working fine. This is how you just run it and see in the Jmeter. So here I numbered it according to steps, so it will be easy for analysis purpose. So this will be run and like everything is clear and working perfectly. So now I can say my script is ready to execute. Okay. So ready. The next step is execution. For execution, you can use different tools like I said earlier. You can use Jmeter, Blazemeter, HP load runner, Neoload, and there are so many. Why I choose Blazemeter is it is a cloud-based solution, and there are so many configurations that we can do. And most importantly, it will handle the load generation, and you can do the load generation in different regions. I'll show you that in the demo, so you can understand why we should go for Blazemeter rather than just running it in the Jmeter. When you're running it in the Jmeter, you will be using the load generator. Your machine will be used as the load generator. Then your machine performance impact to the load generation, and then you will be using a shared network. That's also impact. So there are some limitations when you're running the test. You might need to have a distribution test if you're running large number of users. So to avoid all those hassles and all, we can go to Blazemeter like cloud-based solution. Okay, so let's see how the Blazemeter works. So I already have an account. So here, apart from performance testing, there are functional tests. We can use API monitoring, mock services, and there are a lot of things we can do with Blazemeter. I'm here going to talk about the performance test. So how you're going to create a test is just click on the create test button, and I select the performance test, and I need to upload the scripts. So here you can use either Jmeter, Selenium script, Taurus, even the Postman script you can use. But for this test, we'll be using Jmeter. Just click on this and select the Jmeter file. If you are using any CSV files and supporting files, you can upload here as well. So now the script is uploaded, and then you need to do the configurations. I'll go one by one. If you have any questions, please ask me. And the next one is load configuration. So here you need to mention how many the total users which we need for the test. For the moment, I'm going to use 5 users, and you can select whether it should be duration or iteration. Normally, if you're doing an endurance test, you need to run it for a long time. Then you need to specify a duration. And since I'm going to do a small load test, I'll be selecting iteration. So I just want to run just one iteration. So every user go through the flow once. So there should be only 5 samples. So everyone, it's like a race. There will be 5 people standing here. Once you say go, everyone will run one track. That's it. So that's what iterations. And there will be wrap up time. What wrap up time is, how long will it take to at all users to execute test. So for example, if you're using 10 users, and if you give a ramp up time as 1 minute, every 6 seconds there will be user adding. Here I don't need any ramp up time, just switch it off. And if you can give ramp up steps as well. So stepwise, users will be added. So I don't want that as well. I just want everyone to start at the same time and do the test. And you can give some limit RPS. RPS means limit to the request per seconds, which means maximum request per second. Once you configure the load, once you do the load configuration, you can add the load distribution. This is one advantage we can get from the cloud-based performance testing tool. You can select the load generation engine location. Since I'm using PEMS Jmeter script, I'm going to use Australian-based server to generate the load. So you can select likewise. With Blazemeter, in free and basic plans, you can only select one location. If you go more than basic plan, you can select multiple load distribution centers and distribute the traffic. And the load distribution is set up. And this mock service configuration, this is also not available in the free plan. But what it does says is, I was not be able to experience that since I'm using the free plan. But it says this will be used to test the negative scenarios. Like if you want to test not available servers and all, you can configure mock service. And then you can add a failure criteria. Failure criteria means now my test objective is page response time should be within 3 seconds. So I can say my average response time is like greater than 3 seconds or something. If we reach this threshold, then test marked as fail. It's your choice whether you need to configure this or not. At this moment, I will go as no. And then you can have the end user experience monitoring. End user experience monitoring is a nice feature that we have in Blazemeter, but only disadvantage is like when you switch it on and run, it will take very long time to run the test. So I will not be using this, but I'll tell you what this is. In the end user experience is, you know, when we are running the performance test, you can go personally, you can load the website and see whether how it feels actually, like whether it loads actually. Let's say like loading page takes like 10 seconds, and you can experience it whether it's actually taking 10 seconds or not. If you enable end user experience, you can give a URL which you can hit while you are running the performance test. So it will hit the URL and give you the screenshots how that URL behaves. So if you are not in the free version, you can upload Selenium scenarios as well. Then you can go through entire flow and see how it works while you are running the performance test. Okay. And then they have APM integration. It means application performance monitoring tools you can integrate. There are like 6 of them. They are supporting with Blazemeter. You can integrate that as well. Then you can override Jmeter properties. Earlier, if you can remember, I told that there are some variables we'll be using in Jmeter. Here, we can override these things using Jmeter properties. You can give the property name and the value. And you can do the DNS override as well. DNS override allows you to point your hostname, point your hostname and resolve it to different IP address. We can do that with Blazemeter as well. And the network emulation. Network emulation, here you can give the bandwidth you are expecting and see, you can edit the latency and packet loss and everything. And here network type also you can select. You can enable these things. I just go with the default one at the moment. So it will not take long time to run the test. So once you configure all these tests, here you can see the summary of the configuration. And then let's say you're testing a banking application. You need to perform a performance test for a banking application. Bank says we have huge traffic during 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. So we need to see the performance test, performance of the application during that hour. So in that case, we can schedule the test to run on that hour and see how it works. So here, so you can, if the case is like that, then you can schedule a test to run. Or maybe if you want to run it at the night and see, you want to see the results in the morning, then you can schedule it and go home, run the test and go home, come in the morning and see the results. Likewise, you can schedule. I'm not going to those things. I'm just going to run the scripts. Now my configurations are ready and my test is ready. I'm just going to run the test. Just click on the run button and launch servers. It will be starting the it will not be starting the test. First, it will going to acquire a server to run the test. Here, this shows you the status of getting ready for the test execution. The pending means they're pending for a server. Then now they got a server and booting it up and downloading and ready. You can just click on show servers engines and see the status. If you have used a different server to have the end user experience, that server details will be also here. Or maybe if you have used load distribution different centers, then you will getting a different load engines. Those details will be also displayed down here. So this will take like 2 minutes to set up everything and run. So until it's ready and running. So this is the execution phase. Until it's ready and running, we'll move into the presentation. So once you run, what are you going to see? After we run the presentation, after we run the performance test, we'll be going to have some metrics and analyze them. So the last step is analysis and reporting and retesting. So what are we going to analyze? What are the metrics that we are going to take? First one is response time. Response time means average transaction response time. How long will it take to give you the response? And the throughput, like in simple words, hits per seconds. And if there's an error rate and CPU utilization in the server, memory utilization, network utilization, disk usage, those things can be measured. But remember one thing, based on the performance testing that you are doing, the metrics that you are going to collect is different. If you are doing a load test, you will be collecting response time and throughput, error rate. If you are doing a endurance test, you can collect CPU utilization, memory utilization, network, disk usage, and also response time, throughput, error rate, and everything. Okay. Still it's putting up. Okay. So these metrics will be collecting. Let's see how we are going. Now I'm going to run a load test and let's see how we can collect those metrics and analyze them. Just wait for a minute. I think I have almost used like 5 tests. So when I'm using like more than 5 tests, it will take a bit of long time to acquire a server and run it. So that's one disadvantage in your free account. So, but just let's wait. Okay, now it's going to be ready. In a while, it will start running the test. Here also you can see the engines, total users, scenarios and locations, everything. If you feel like you want to abort the test, you can just click on here and abort it as well. We just wait for a moment and see whether it works. Okay, now the test has been started. Here you can see it's still running. While it's running, you can see the summary at the moment. This is the summary of the performance test results. The max users is 5 users, average throughput is 4.5 seconds, error rate is like this, average response time is like this, 90% response time is like this. Even though this like average response time is like this, you will get 90% response time up to 4 seconds, which means out of we only used 5 requests. So out of 5, 90% got 4 seconds. And average bandwidth, likewise, you can see just the graphs here, the load and the response time, those stuff with the time. And here you can see the timeline reports. You can just see each scenario, how it worked and all. You can view these things here. And request stats, this is the most important area. With these details, we can analyze up to great extent and see what are the issues and what are the requests which got delayed and everything. And you can see the sorry, engine health. Engine health means the load generator engine health. And if there's any errors, at the moment we don't have any errors, and you can collect the logs and you can see the original load configuration. So I told you that this is the main part. If you have no errors, you can just see from here there's no errors. You should be happy with 5 users. You didn't get any errors. You can just download this into a CSV as well. I'll show you from the CSV, it will be easy to analyze. Okay, once you download it, you can sort it this easily. That's why I gave numbers for each request. And you can see the average response time, average throughput, 90% line, 95%, 99, minimum response, maximum, average bytes, error rate, latency, standard deviation, error, duration, median response time, those things you can collect. What I want from this test is to understand the average response time. That's what's the test objective. So here, this is the field we need to analyze. We just quickly analyze this. Let's say since I said 3 seconds, it should be 3000 since it's come from milliseconds. I just give this color and format. Okay, so these requests got more than 3 seconds. Entire landing page, which means to load, navigate to landing page, load UI localization, configuration, load app configuration, altogether all 3 requests collectively got up to 3.2 seconds. And login and dashboard, it's like this. So if you want to see what's the issue in here, you can go down here and see what are the requests which took long time. So this is how you need to analyze properly. Then otherwise you will not be able to tell like what are the, like you cannot just say that login will take like this much of time instead of saying instead of finding the what took long time to log. So this is how you should analyze. For analyzing, if you are running it for different number of users, you can collect the results and get it into tables like this and draw some charts like this and present like present with these charts. So everyone will can understand how the transactions, average transaction response time in each section. So this is how you can do the analysis. Once you analyze and once you figure out the issues collectively with software developers, you can fix the issues and retest and see whether you achieve the test objective. Once you achieve the test objective, you can say the performance is up to the your expected level. So that's how you should be doing a performance test. So that's all about how do you need to conduct a proper performance test. Do you guys have any questions? It seems there's no questions. Then thank you everyone for listening.